Hey guys, so I'm here for my January wrap-up slash February TBR video. So I'm just gonna get into it. And I'll talk about first the books that I finished, some of which I did not own myself, so I borrowed from my neighbor, so I do not have the physical copies in front of me to show you, but I'll try to, if I think of it, try to insert pictures. But we shall get into it. So the first book I finished in January was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually really enjoyed that book. It was I feel like just very well written and enjoyable. And then the next book, and I borrowed that one from my neighbor, so if I think of it, I'll try to insert a picture. And then the next book I finished, I also borrowed from my neighbor, and that was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I hadn't read those two books before, but had been thinking about reading them for a while, so I'm kind of glad I finally got around to reading them. And then the next book I finished, I own myself, but it's so I can hold up the copy, but it is and this was a reread because my neighbor and I read this last year. So we just reread it again because the movie just came out on Netflix a couple of weeks ago. But I read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And I actually enjoy this book. I've enjoyed all the Emily Henry books, but the this one especially is great. And then the next book I read was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, which is in the One in Rome series, and that I borrowed that one from my neighbor. And then also in the One in Rome series, which I have my own physical copy of, is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. And then I also read the Meg Jo Beth Amy, The Story of Little Woman and Why It Still Matters. And then I also finished reading the other day Little Woman themselves, the book Little Woman. So that was those were all the physical books that I owned that I read. And then also in the When in Rome series, I read the When in Rome, the first book in the series initially. And I had borrowed that one from my neighbor as well, along with the Book Club of Troublesome Woman, The Academy by Elin, Hilderbrand, and Pumpkin Spice Cafe were all books that I borrowed from my neighbor and I finished reading in January. And then the last book I finished reading in January for a physical book is the Vampire Knitting Club Cornwall series, and this is the first book. I'm almost pretty much done with this, so I'm gonna count it towards done for the January TBR. And then I also finished the Friday Night Knitting Club on audiobook for January. So on my February TBR, I don't have all the books in front of me. Some of them are in my bedroom, so I'm not gonna go in and get them, but some of them I do have in front of me, so I am gonna show you the ones I do have in. Yes, I'm not gonna bother getting the other books from my bedroom, but I will let you know which ones I own and which ones I'm planning on doing, either audiobook or whatever. Yeah. So the first book is I'm borrowing this one from my neighbor, so I have it in front of me. I haven't started reading it yet, but I will pretty soon here. After I finish another book, I get my, because I only have 2 physical books right now that I'm reading, so I'm kind of trying to get those out of the way first. But I'll talk about current reads after this, after I talk about my February TBR, but The Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I'm borrowing this copy from my neighbor. And then this is the 4th book in the One in Rome series, so I'm going to start reading also In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. And then the other books on my February TBR are The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, which is in my bedroom, and then Just for the Camera by Meghan Quinn. That is a new release in February. That comes out February 3rd, I think, if I remember correctly. So I don't have a physical copy of the book to show, so I'll just insert a picture. And then I was also going to read As Tough as They Come by Staff Sergeant Travis Mills, which I have a signed copy of that book. My neighbor just, I lent it to my neighbor, and she just gave it back to me a couple of days ago. So I'm gonna start reading that, and then Hidden Figures. Yeah. So, and then current reads right now, I have A Man Called Ove, by Frederick Bachman, and then I have 2 audiobooks. I have Devil Wears Prada on audiobook, and We Don't Know Ourselves, a personal history of modern Ireland, that I'm currently listening to. Sorry, and I also forgot to mention the book that I DNF'd for, I believe it was for March, was Nicholas and Nickleby by Charles Dickens. I tried to do the audiobook of that, and it was just too depressing. So my neighbor and I decided not to do that book, and we took it off the TBR. But I did DNF it. And we decided not to watch the movie too, because I feel like I had seen the movie a couple of years ago, and I remember it being kind of depressing. So, anyways, so that is it for this video. If you guys have any comments and suggestions you should do, please do comment down below or on my Facebook page, and I hope everybody has an amazing day. Bye.